Picture a Monday morning rush hour. Traffic is thick, the air is heavy, and hundreds of drivers sit in their cars scrolling through their phones at red lights, barely aware of the machine beneath them. But somewhere in that same traffic, there is a person doing something entirely different. Their left foot is pressed against a clutch pedal, their right hand rests on a gear lever. Their eyes are scanning the road ahead, calculating when to shift, when to hold, when to release. They are not just driving. They are performing, and they would not have it any other way. This is the person who drives manual transmission, not because they have to, not because automatic cars are unavailable or too expensive, but because for them, driving an automatic feels like something essential has been removed from the experience, something they cannot quite name but absolutely cannot live without. People who exclusively drive manual transmission are a shrinking demographic in a world that has largely moved on. Automatic vehicles now dominate the global market. In the United States, less than 2% of new cars sold come with a manual gearbox. In many countries, entire generations are growing up without ever touching a clutch pedal. The infrastructure of driving has shifted decisively toward ease and convenience. And yet there are people who actively resist this shift, who buy older vehicles specifically to get a manual, who feel a quiet frustration when they rent a car and discover it is automatic, who teach their children to drive stick before they teach them anything else. These people are not simply being stubborn or nostalgic in some vague and undefined way. They are expressing something deeply rooted in their psychology, something that the disappearance of the manual gearbox genuinely threatens. Psychologists who study the relationship between humans and their tools point to a concept called embodied cognition. The idea is that the mind does not operate in isolation from the body. The way we physically interact with the world shapes how we think, how we feel, and how we experience reality. When a person drives a manual car, they are not just operating a vehicle. They are engaging their body and mind in a continuous, coordinated dialogue. The clutch, the accelerator, the gear lever, the sound of the engine, all of it feeds into a unified experience that demands full physical and mental presence. An automatic car removes that dialogue almost entirely. The driver becomes a passenger in a more subtle sense. The car makes decisions. The car manages the power. The driver simply steers and presses two pedals. For someone accustomed to the full manual experience, this feels like a profound loss of agency, and that feeling is not irrational. Research in behavioral psychology consistently shows that humans derive significant satisfaction from environments where their actions have direct, immediate, and tangible consequences. Manual transmission is precisely that kind of environment. There is a woman named Alina who has been driving manual cars since she was 17 years old. She lives in a mid-sized city where traffic is unpredictable and hills are everywhere. Her friends have suggested many times that she switch to an automatic. They remind her it would be easier, especially in stop-and-go conditions. She always listens politely and then dismisses the idea entirely. When asked why, Alina does not talk about fuel efficiency or engine control or mechanical preference. She talks about how driving feels. She describes the moment when she finds the perfect rev range before a shift, the way the engine responds exactly as expected, the physical sensation of the car obeying her intentions with precision. She says that driving an automatic makes her feel like she is being transported rather than driving, and for Alina, being transported is simply not enough. Alina's experience reflects something that psychologists call the sense of agency. It is the feeling that one's actions are causing outcomes in the world. Neuroscientific research has demonstrated that the brain actively monitors this sense of agency and responds to it with measurable changes in mood and attention. When the sense of agency is strong, people report higher engagement, greater focus, and elevated satisfaction. When it weakens, people disengage and feel passive. For manual drivers, every gear change is a small affirmation of agency. Every successful hill start is a competence signal. Every smooth downshift in a corner is proof that they are skilled, present, and in control. Control is one of the deepest psychological needs in human beings, not control in a domineering sense, but in the fundamental sense of feeling that one's choices and actions matter. Psychologists refer to this as internal locus of control, the belief that outcomes in life are determined by one's own behavior rather than by external forces. People with a strong internal locus of control tend to be more resilient, more motivated, and more satisfied with their lives. They seek environments that reward effort and skill. They gravitate toward challenges that offer clear feedback. Manual transmission is a perfect mirror for this psychological orientation. It rewards the skilled driver. It punishes inattention. It gives immediate, honest feedback through sound and sensation. A stalled engine on a hill, a grinding gear on a rushed shift, a perfectly timed heel-toe downshift into a corner, these are not random events. They are direct consequences of the driver's choices. For someone who values agency and skill, this is not a burden, it is an invitation. This also explains why many manual drivers describe their relationship with their car in unusually personal terms. They speak about the car and the driver as a team. They talk about learning a particular car's personality, understanding its quirks and preferences. This is not merely poetic language. It reflects a genuine psychological dynamic in which the tool becomes an extension of the self. Psychologists call this the extended self, a concept developed by consumer behavior researcher Russell Belk, who argued that people incorporate meaningful objects into their identity in ways that blur the boundary between self and possession. Nostalgia also plays a significant role in the psychology of manual drivers, but it operates in a more complex way than simple sentiment. These individuals are not merely attached to the past in a passive sense. They are making an active statement about what they believe driving should be. They are asserting that speed, efficiency, and convenience are not the only values worth optimizing for, that skill, engagement, and physical presence in an activity have intrinsic worth. In a culture that relentlessly pursues frictionlessness, where every technology is designed to reduce effort and eliminate inconvenience, the manual driver represents a quiet counterargument. They are saying that some friction is valuable, that effort creates meaning, that the difficulty of a thing can be part of its reward rather than simply an obstacle to be automated away. This philosophical stance connects manual driving to a much broader cultural conversation about what is lost when human skill is replaced by machine efficiency. There is a name for this in psychology. It is called effort justification, a well-documented phenomenon where people value outcomes more highly when they required significant effort to achieve. But manual drivers take this further. They are not just valuing the destination more because the journey was hard, they are valuing the journey itself. The process of driving is the point. The destination is almost secondary. Walk into any gathering of driving enthusiasts and the social psychology becomes immediately visible. Manual drivers recognize each other quickly. There is a shared vocabulary of heel-toe braking, rev matching, clutch feel, and gear ratios. There is a shared set of experiences around learning to drive stick, the inevitable stalls, the hill start anxiety, the first time everything clicked into place and suddenly it all made sense. These shared experiences create genuine bonds. The community around manual driving is not simply a group of people with a common preference. It is a tribe with a shared identity and a shared set of values. Being a manual driver signals certain things about a person. It signals that they prioritize engagement over convenience, that they are willing to invest effort into something they care about, that they see driving as a skill worth developing rather than a task worth automating. Within the community, this identity is a source of pride and belonging. Among outsiders who cannot drive manual, it often generates a kind of quiet respect. There are fathers who teach their daughters to drive stick on empty parking lots on Sunday mornings. There are friends who spend afternoons helping each other practice on hills. There are online communities where members debate the mechanics and pleasures of different gearboxes with the same intensity that others bring to music or literature. The manual transmission has become more than a mechanical system. It has become a cultural artifact around which genuine human connection forms. In the end, the person who always drives manual transmission is not simply choosing a different mechanism for controlling their vehicle. They are making a statement about what it means to be present in an activity, about what it means to be skilled, about the relationship between effort and satisfaction, about the value of things that resist full automation. In a world moving rapidly toward self-driving vehicles, toward cars that not only shift gears automatically but navigate, brake, and accelerate without human input, the manual driver stands at an interesting cultural crossroads. They are not Luddites. They are not opposed to progress in any simple sense. They are people who have discovered something about themselves through the physical act of driving a machine that demands their full participation. And they are unwilling to surrender that discovery for the sake of convenience. Because some things once understood cannot be unfelt, the weight of a perfectly executed gear change, the satisfaction of a smooth launch from a standstill, the feeling of being genuinely, completely, and undeniably in control of something. These are not small things. For the people who know them, they are everything.